Dear friends, I am thankful to the MAPICON 2021 for giving me this opportunity to interact with the esteemed gathering of professionals and present my viewpoint on a vital subject, which is food security and health. What is food security? Is a situation that exists when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. This definition is by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The National Commission on Farmers, headed by the MS Swaminathan, has also given a definition of food security that every individual has physical, economic, social, and environmental access to a balanced diet that includes the necessary macro and micronutrients, safe drinking water, sanitation, environment hygiene, primary health care, and education as to lead a healthy and productive life. The beauty of this definition is that it has considered all the factors physical, economic, social, and environmental, and has also included in the definition the other factors which affect the health, like the drinking water, sanitation, environment hygiene, primary health care, and education. So this is a more wider definition of the food security. Food security is ensured in a country only if enough food is available for all persons. All persons have the capacity to buy food of acceptable quality. There is no barrier on access to food. The first world's top countries for food security, if we had a glance at that, that is from a developed part of the world mostly. And if we consider our own country in that ranking, with a score of 56.2, India at the 71 position on the World Food Index in 2020. And this food security index includes availability, affordability, quality and safety, and natural resources and resilience. India shares with this position with Guatemala. So that reflects that at what level we are having the food security in our country. Need for food security is that for the poor sections of the society, natural disasters or calamities like flood, drought, earthquake, tsunami, etc., widespread crop failures. So pillars of food security, the WHO states that there are three pillars that permit food security. This is the food availability, food access, and food use. The Food and Agriculture Organization has added a fourth pillar that the stability of these three dimensions is required. That means the long-term stability is required for these security, availability, and access utilization so that the proper food security level of the population is maintained. Factors, in other words, factor affecting food security is a graphic presentation of that, considering these factors: availability, access, utilization, and stability. So availability ensured when there is a reliable supply of food of sufficient quantity and quality, both ensured when individuals and households have adequate resources to obtain appropriate food, and ensures when food is can be adequately available to the population. And stability is that this is to be made permanent when all these components, availability, access, and utilization, are the long available for the long-term duration. In other words, the food insecurity, the other words to describe it, is often rooted in poverty and has long-term impacts on the ability of families, communities, and countries to develop. According to Food and Agriculture Organization, a person is food insecure when they lack regular access to enough food and nutritious food for normal growth and development and for an active and healthy life. This may be due to unavailability of food and or lack of resources to obtain food. Food insecurity can be experienced at different levels of severity. And when we see the ranges of that level of the security, Then it's a high food security, upper level, where the household has no problem or anxiety about consistently accessing adequate food. And there is a very low food security level, where eating patterns of one or more household members were disrupted and food intake reduced because the household lacked money or other sources for food. This can also be mentioned in the form of the hunger. That's a more severe form and aspect of food security. This may be a seasonal hunger when there is a cycles of food growing and harvesting, uh, prevalent in rural areas because of the seasonal nature of agriculture activities, and urban areas because of the causal labor. It exists when a person is unable to get work for the entire year. Chronic hunger is a more severe and persistent problem when there is as a consequence of a diet persistently inadequate in terms of quantity and quality. Poor people suffer from it because of their very low income and in turn inability to buy food even for survival. It is prevalent at all places among the very poor people. So the Global Hunger Index in 2020, it's a graphical presentation of that we see from this color of that the map that India is passing through a very serious level of the scarcity as far as the global hunger index is concerned. And this global hunger index, the composition is having from the inadequate food supply, from the child mortality and child undernutrition. That means these are the consequences when the undernutrition is there. These are the consequences in the form of even mortality and the development of the children. India ranked 94 in the Global Hunger Index 2020, which is placed below its South Asian neighbors such as Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. 27.8% of India's population suffered from moderate or severe food insecurity in 2014 and 16, and the proportion rose to 31.6% in 2017 and 19. That means this situation for the food security is worsening with the passage of the time. It's not on towards the better side in the recent past years. Food insecure groups are landless people, traditional artisans, self-employed workers, homeless, beggars, families in ill-paid occupations, casual laborers, seasonal activities, very low wages. Impact on health of the food insecurity can also be mentioned in this form as this results in undernutrition, anemia, and other micronutrient deficiencies, poor general health, low birth weight, high infant and maternal mortality, increased hospitalization. And on the psychological level, also cognitive problems, aggression, anxiety, behavioral problems, depression, suicide ideation, and even if there is a general health condition of the oral health also, that's worse. Not only does food insecurity itself has a deleterious effects on households and individuals, but efforts at achieving food security may also pose a heavy economic toll if households spend most of their income on obtaining foods. Serious forms of food insecurities are when 80% of the income is being transferred to the purchase of the food for their nutrition. On a household level, presence of food security probably suggests a high degree of vulnerability to a broad spectrum of consequences, including psychosocial dysfunctional in children, socio-familial problems, and overall poor health status. The other impacts of this, apart from the health, are the childhood nutrition deficiencies are responsible for poor school enrollment, absenteeism, early dropout, poor classroom performance, consequent losses in productivity during adult life. Worldwide, 29% of all children under 5 years of age are underweight. 36% suffer from growth retardation. Almost 800 million people around the world are undernourished. 159 billion children under the age of 5 are stunted, and 50 million children suffer from wasting. About 2 billion people suffer from iron deficiency anemia, iodine deficiency, another worldwide problem. There is another issue as far as the health is concerned. It's the vicious cycle of undernutrition and infection. Undernutrition leads to less immunity of the body, and that exposes the individual to the infections. More infections or easily exposed to the infections, and that again leads to the loss of work and the poverty, and that poverty again leads to undernutrition. So this vicious circle goes on. The more severe form of this is that it results into the not only the immunological factors are influenced, it results in the high mortality of the children and the population. Undernutrition in India, when we find that in a NFSS4 data, underweight 35.70%, stunted 38.40%, wasted 21% as far as the child health is concerned. And if we see it on the map, that how it reflects on the major core part of the country, as from the colored figure, we can see that it's a very high level of the concern as far as the underweight children is concerned. As we see the anemia from this data, children aged 6 to 59 months were anemic, it's 58.6%. Non-pregnant women 15 to 49 years, 53.2%. Pregnant women 50.4%. All women aged 15 to 49, 53.1%, and men aged 15 to 49%, 22.7%. If we see the levels of the hemoglobin which are considered as being anemic, it's for the non-pregnant women at the level of 12 grams, and for the pregnant woman at the level of the 11 grams. Undernourishment in India as it is mentioned by the social sciences, these gene dress with the concern that proportion of undernourished children declined from 53% in early 90s to the 47% in the late 90s. That is a decade. He noted with concern that the 1% decrease is a very dismal level as far as the improvement in the nutrition of the children is concerned. And if this continued at this rate, then 40 years are required for the Indian children to take up with the Chinese children. And if we consider the rural Indian girls, it will take 80 years to catch up with the Chinese girl as far as the adequate nutritional levels are concerned. This is such a dismal picture. So malnutrition in Punjab is the under 5 children, that though it has a improvement from 36.7% to 28%, that's a 11% improvement. Similarly, improvement at the level of the underweight, but what is the area of concern is that as far as the wasting is concerned, we had more increased number of the population of the children than the previous population. That's the area of the serious concern. Considering the second component, the anemia, the children, it's 56.6%, non-pregnant women 54.0%, pregnant women it's 42%, all women it's 53.5%, and men it is 25.9%. State facing the problem of food insecurity in our country is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, and Maharashtra. If we consider the global food supply, most nations suffer from food insecurity mainly due to lack of purchasing power. Many countries have a fragile food supply because of chronic food shortages due to unfavorable growing or harvesting conditions or political turbulence. Only a few countries are self-sufficient in food supply. The rest rely on their food imports on the world market. Even though on all continents, except Africa, south of the Sahara, the nutritional situation of the population has improved during the last 10 years, there are still 78 countries classified as food deficient, low-income countries. In the 2000, the United Nations came forward with the Millennium Development Goals. And if we consider among these 8 goals, the first most important has been taken up as eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. It was a 15 years targets. The goal was not properly achieved. And still after those 15 years in 2015, the United Nations came forward with sustainable development goals. And again, we find that the first 2 goals, no poverty and no hunger, that is there. Zero hunger up to 2025 is the goal of the United Nations for all countries, and we are part of that. India's attempts at attaining food security, starting from, we are more concerned that we are proud of even about the green revolution in the food productions. So highest growth is in Punjab and Haryana, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Low growth is in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, and the Northeast states. So if we consider it, the green revolution in the historical perspective, in pre-independence India, the famines were very common. For example, the Bengal famine of 1942. At time of independence, average yield of wheat and rice was 1 ton per hectare. In 1966, under PL 480, 10 million tons of wheat was imported from USA. In 1965-66, cultivation of hybrid varieties started, and in 1968, the wheat production was increased to 17 million tons. That is from 12 million tons 4 years earlier. This was such a high increase during a very short span of time. Minimum support price for wheat was announced at that time. In July 1996, William Gant coined the term Green Revolution, which refers to all crops where there has been a yield breakthrough. But Swaminathan, the chairman of the Farmers Commission, has mentioned that the evergreen revolution is the target because it's a continuous ongoing process. So India's high yielding varieties program initiated in 1969 included wheat, rice, maize, jowar, and bajra. Green revolution became possible only because of synergy between technology, public policy, and farmers' enthusiasm. That means it has been made possible by the technology in the form of the hybrid varieties, public policy, that means the highest level of the political, that means the government of India was having a commitment that the country should be not importing the cereals, should be self-sufficient in the cereals, and the farmers' enthusiasm that the farmers accepted this technology, and they felt that this will be giving some economic financial benefits to them also, and that's useful. Food grain production during the period spanning 5 decades, starting from 1950 to 2000, had almost quadrupled from 5.82 million tons to 196.81 million tons, and further to 257 million tons in 2017. And the productivity increased by 3 times from 522 kg to 1622 kg per hectare. Per capita availability of energy increased from 2,370 kilocalories in 90 to 2,470 kilocalories per day in 2004. This increase in production has not been translated into the availability of the food for the people. Though 75% of population is earning its livelihood out of food-related professions, 1/3 of the population of the country is undernourished. It has been claimed that India has attained surplus in most agriculture commodities. Data on per capita availability to another tale. According to the Agriculture Search Data Book 2017, between 1961 and 2018, the increase in availability of the cereals was only about 26 grams per person per day, a mere 6% increase over more than 5 decades. The overall food grain availability per person per day grew only by 3% or 15 grams over this period. In case of pulses, the availability was actually 14 grams lower per day. That is a 21% decline over these years. And gram availability dropped by 13 grams or 43% over this period, despite some of the supply coming from imports. Added to this poor showing on per capita availability are the levels of the hunger and malnutrition that can only worsen with food inflation. India's food security system, if we consider that it is in the form of that the government purchases to maintain the buffer stock of the cereals, and then it's being distributed through the public distribution system. So major commodities distributed include staple food grains such as wheat, rice, that are being provided at the subsidized rate. Government had a number of schemes for ensuring the food security, as we have the National Food Security Mission, National Food Security Act, the Public Distribution System, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, the Integrated Scheme on Oilseed, Pulses, Palm Oils and Maize, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Antodaya Anna Yojana, Annapurna Scheme. There are a number of schemes for that. And in the 2013, a positive step in the form of the National Food Security Act. The Act legally entitles up to 5% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population to receive subsidized food grains under targeted public distribution system. The Act is being implemented in all the states and union territories out of maximum coverage of 81.34% crore persons. Around 80 crore persons have been covered under this Act and present for receiving highly subsidized grains. PDSR is having its benefits because it stabilizes prices of food grains, makes food available at affordable prices. By supplying food grain surplus region of the country to the deficient ones, it helps in combating hunger and famine. Prices set with poor households in mind, provides income security to farmers in certain regions. Problems faced by PDS system are the hunger still exists in many areas of India. Food stock in granaries often above specified levels. Deterioration in quantity of stored food grains is kept for longer times. High storage cost, increase in NSP has led to shift from coarse grains to rice and wheat production among the farmers. Average consumption of PDS grain at the Alnia level is very low. Malpractices on the part of PDS dealers, diverting grains to the open market to get better margin, selling poor quality grains at ration shops, irregular opening of shops. So in the PDS, we can see that the different, I have mentioned the different schemes are there, and the subsidized rate is being provided as far as the food grains are concerned to the different sections of the population, different schemes for the different sections. Another factor which has effect on the food security of the country is the entry of the corporate sector and technology in the food grains production. A major development in society and politics is the steady growth of corporate power. We had a bitter taste of public policy by corporate trust in the context of child nutrition programs, especially school meals and integrated child development services. With millions of children covered, a contract to supply ready-to-eat food to them under these programs instead of cooked food prepared by local women can be very lucrative. India's food industry has not lost sight of it in business and has persistently lobbied for the replacement of cooked food with branded products in the midday meal scheme and the ICDs. Fortunately, the government at that level declined this offer of the business houses and continued with their cooked food distribution to the children. With new farm laws, the doors have been opened for entry of corporate sector in the production and storage of food grains. That defanging of the Essential Commodity Acts and the minimum support price would provide windfall gains for monopoly traders and companies. They would speculate on prices, turning into a nightmare for poor consumers who depend on market to buy their food supplies. For PDS, the government will have to purchase the food grains from the corporate houses at the prices of their choice. And thus the public money is going to be transferred to the corporate sector for profit. Food grain production will not remain profitable and farmers will be forced to leave the profession, resulting in transfer of land to the corporate sector. More people will be pushed to food insecurity. In 1951 to 2005, 55 million people were forcibly evicted from their land. Numbers far surpass the population of many member countries of the United Nations. An overwhelming population of them are tribal population. Draft report prepared by the Ministry of Rural Development has described the dispossession of tribal land in the state of Chhattisgarh as the biggest land grab of the tribal lands after Columbus. And the Prime Minister of India at that time mentioned that this is the biggest shame for the nation. In conclusion, we can say from all these facts that freedom from hunger is a fundamental human right. Food security is vital for the health of the people. Availability of adequate food and nutrition must be ensured for the entire population, irrespective of their purchasing power. Eradication of extreme poverty and hunger should be a priority. Government should always remain at the commanding height of the food security system. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interact on this very vital subject of food security and health. Thank you very much.